So, Path of Exile in 6 months is having their beta, Path of Exile 2. And somehow, even whenever the game has just been in alpha and you can't even play it, it still looks it has more quality. It's got like this fucking dude, this... God, bro, that fucking picture. Jesus, I look like such a fucking idiot. All right, let's go.
I would say Diablo 4 keeps catching stray blows, but as the title it currently is, for all the wrong reasons, the game
I think people use they used games like Diablo 4, games like Starfield. Let me think of another game that's like a poster child for AAA media. Modern Warfare, the new Call of Duty, Overwatch 2. Yeah, and it's I think people use these games as examples because these are games that have every reason to succeed and no excuses to fail, and they still fail.
Continues lumbering into huge fatal hits. Asmongold truly said it best during the last Path of Exile 2 gameplay showcase.
Does it make you mad how bad Diablo 4 is compared to this? Yes! See, to me, yeah, like, it does. Like, I'm the kind of person, like, whenever I see something that's fucking garbage, like, whenever I see the Valheim video, like, of that huge trailer, all I think about is, okay, so they could do that, so then why did New World copy-paste all those towns then? You know, like, that's what's in my head, right? I'm like, why did they do that then if they could, you know, it doesn't make any sense. Yes! This is incredible. I don't know what to say. Like, how is this, like, how is it that, how? What? How is this is just insane. They make video games. That's what's so crazy about it. You forget about that, don't you?
As is often the case with Asmon, he's right. He's completely right.
So true. So true. He's right, too. He's right about me being right.
What in the world has Blizzard done with Diablo 4? Instead of innovating,
nothing.
Instead of moving forward and being the progressive company they say they strive to be, D4 seems to leap backward in numerous ways.
Well, whenever they say progressive, they're talking about their fake political values in order to score points with, you know, celebrities, mainstream media, and investment companies, okay? We're not talking about progressive in forms of developing a product. It's progressive in forms of, you know, having a shirt that has the, you know, the trans flag colors, okay? Like, we're not being progressive in gameplay here.
Or simply disregard ARPG and general gaming advances in favor of what its community and development team call simplicity for the common man. After all, Diablo 4 needs to be playable by a dude who works 3 jobs, has 11 wives, and is a present parent to 30 children.
Which basically is Elon Musk, to be fair. And he loves Diablo 4.
Is that really true? Or does Blizzard just not know how to design a game anymore? This video will delve into multiple areas where in present-day ARPGs like Path of Exile 1, Last Epoch, Path of Exile 2, and heavens above, even Diablo Immortal succeed and Diablo 4 fails. Yeah.
Places where Diablo Immortal outperforms Diablo 4? Oh, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this one. Oh my god.
Yes, even the money pit game of Diablo Immortal wins out in multiple areas where D4 falls flat. Do note, most of the examples will focus on the future and thusly revolve around D4 and PoE 2. Aesthetic? Yep. Boss fights? Oh, yes.
I think that the aesthetic for Diablo 4 is okay, but I would say that the aesthetic for... Like, I think that the Diablo 2 aesthetic is better than the Diablo 4 and the PoE 2 aesthetic that I've seen so far. In terms of, like, the towns, I think Diablo 2, it has, like, that... Why? Okay, so I'll talk about why. A lot of games nowadays have a lot of over-design. And what I liked about the Diablo 2 town is that it wasn't over-designed. It was reserved, it was complete, it was simple, and I like that. Yeah, it was functional. Yeah, and like again, this is my opinion, right? This is just it's stylizing. Everybody has a different opinion on stylizing. If you think Diablo 4 is better, great. If you think PoE 2 is better, great. But like I think in terms of towns, I actually like the Diablo 2 towns a lot more, personally.
You know it. Character customization, of course. Social features, definitely.
Yeah.
Also remember, PoE 2 is in its alpha, and according to some defiant D4 defenders, this means it should 100% have less content and development than any other game before it, just like the wizened Diablo 4. Next,
it's like, I mean, imagine if Searing Exarch, his floor was like bright red and the balls were bright red. Like, that's what it's like fighting Uber Lilith.
Will outline what exactly I, and I posit many others, believe about the development of Diablo 4 and its greater impact on the gaming and ARPG community. This isn't a hot take, but it's a take that will infuriate a substantial number of heroes of Sanctuary out there. Finally, it will conclude with what the future of Diablo 4 will hold. Despite my distaste for the game, I cannot deny the effect it has had on me, all those dudes with 10 wives and 70 children, and the...
It's Diablo 4... It's not a terrible game, but what happens is, like, Path of Exile 2 comes out, and it shows its content, and it's like... It's like, imagine you've only eaten, I'm trying to think, like... Fuck, like, you've only eaten Burger King, or no, sorry, not Burger King's great. You've only eaten McDonald's hamburgers for your whole life, and you like the taste of McDonald's hamburgers. You think they're great. You go to McDonald's, they have another hamburger, you eat the hamburger. But then one day, you get a chance to try Five Guys or Shake Shack, and you realize what you've been doing your whole life. And it's not that McDonald's is really bad, but it's that the alternatives are so fucking much better that it is disgusting.
World round of video games. It may have been Blizzard's fastest selling game of all time, but it is far from its best. Ask anyone. Seriously. Do it. My fellow exiles and new viewers, I'm Talkative Try. On this channel, we talk all things Path of Exile.
I think that, I mean, it's not like, again, like, Diablo 4 is not the worst game in existence. It just doesn't really have, like... It's just like there's so many things about it, like the boss fights. It's just mid. Yeah, in a lot of ways, it's so mid.
Its development and its competitors. If you like this content, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to the channel. More on how you can support at the end. We are so close to 10,000 subscribers. Now, let's get to it. Presently, we are going to focus on 5 areas wherein Diablo 4 easily loses out against its primary competitors. In all 5 of these areas, I posit D4 should have been innovative or forward-thinking, not regressive or downright janky in today's gaming era.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, what did they really do with Diablo 4 that makes it different than other games? Because I feel like the only degree of innovation that they had for ARPGs probably happened in, like, maybe in Season 2, they had, like, those world events that were pretty cool. I like those. Mounts. Yeah, I mean, so like like you're saying, like that's it, right? I mean, Helltides are different. Yeah, the outdoor. I like the outdoor events that Diablo 4 has, but
some of the areas are so unbelievably simple. I'm confused as to why they are not present in a game like Diablo 4. Others are obviously deeper and incredibly more difficult to solve. Let's leap into the aesthetics of Diablo 4. Immediately, you might be thinking D4 is beautifully designed. Its environments and sounds, after all, are spectacles to behold. However, that's it. There are plenty of other areas wherein
the game looks good. I do think it looks good.
Obviously falls short. One big shortfall are the animations, especially for monsters. Boss rigging, simple skeletons,
The boss rigging and animations are definitely true. Like the animations aren't that great.
The goat men.
In terms of like the animation hitboxes and the visuals of the effects are not accurate.
Janky, choppy even, and lead to a very arcadey feel while playing. Match that together with the screen clogging damage numbers and status effects, and you have yourself a screen entirely devoid of meaning. This also...
I have to say that I really wish that PoE had damage numbers. I love damage numbers. I think they're awesome. I want damage numbers. I don't care. I don't care who disagrees with this. I just want it as an option. I'm not saying you should have to have it on. I just want it as an option. I like big numbers. What?
also happens in games like Path of Exile, wherein you can juice your maps to absolute maximum. But therein the animations are smoother, especially for monsters. Damage numbers don't litter the entire screen. Instead,
I think that PoE animations can be extremely problematic as well. So the way that PoE animations can be problematic is not actually in the animation itself. It's at the accelerating effects that cause the animations to occur at a rate that is unnatural. So what I'm saying is Soul Eater, right? Like the animations of something that has Soul Eater, like what the fuck is going on here, right? But besides that, yeah, I would agree.
Status effects are entirely tracked by your intuition and character building. The impetus is on the player to understand what they're inflicting based on how they've built their character.
I also think that the bosses in PoE are way better designed. Something like Searing Exarch or the Eater of Worlds, Cirrus. Let me think. What are the other ones that I think are really good? Maven. Yeah, I guess Maven is good. I'm not really a huge fan of Maven. Shaper is a great example. Every mechanic that the Shaper does is so easily visible. Like Cirrus will off-screen you sometimes, right? Like, which kind of sucks. Like, Shaper doesn't do that. Katarina's cool. Yeah, Katarina's pretty decent. Not my favorite boss, but she's decent.
Not a massive yellow word hovering above a group of monsters 10 times over. On a completely separate note, item icons in D4 are near meaningless. The art is tiny and uninteresting. Along that vein, while the environments and some monsters might look good, they are incredibly repetitive.
Well, this one isn't even good. Like, you can be out of the animation from this and then still get hit by it. Like, that makes it bad. Like, I have a very, very simple, like, baseline. If you are getting hit by something that you're not in, then it's bad. There it is. So if your character is not visibly in something in the animation, then it's bad. Period.
Monster diversity is non-existent. The same terrains are used over and over. And one of D4's only truly unique areas, hell,
is only seen once.
Only used once in the campaign and once more in the Uber Lilith fight.
Yeah, that was weird to me too.
Exile 2 especially clears Diablo 4 here, and it's in alpha. Animations are exceptional for characters and monsters. Item icons are crisp and meaningful. Enemies are incredibly diverse, and so are
like the
environments. There's not
the world looks really nice.
Open world of 5 simple terrain types. There's a branching 6-act campaign and sprawling endgame with over 100 distinct areas. That's huge in a deceptively repetitive genre.
Well, this is the problem, right? Is that Blizzard focuses on things that the average player doesn't have any, like, they don't really give a shit about it. Like, a good example is, like, having that Gemma Bane or whatever, like, voice the character in season 2. Like, that really didn't make a big difference for people. And I remember, like, with the Overwatch, that new character that they did, that Mauga guy, they spent, like, 30 minutes at BlizzCon talking about all the work and effort that went into, like, researching, like, the culture that he's from. Like, that's nice. You want to do that. That's cool. But, like, this isn't something that has a lot of value for, like, an average player. And it's like the focus is, again, it's almost like they're making video games for other people that make video games. They're not making video games for an audience of players of games. They're making it for an audience of people that have these values, that care about this kind of stuff. It's a value for Twitter virtue signalers. Well, yeah, and that's basically right. So, like, to me, I was just like, well, this character looks really fucking cool, right? I mean, like, I even thought about playing, like, if I go back and play Overwatch 2 again, which I'm sure I will eventually, I will 100% play Malga. But, I mean, that's not, like, it's because he looks cool and he has cool weapons. Like, that's it. Like, them talking about, like, the names that they gave the weapons, it's just like the focus is, it's almost like it's narcissistic in a way. Like, do you guys know what I'm saying? Like, it's like the self-aggrandizement with it. Everything about his culture, just how good he is. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not the game, though. Yeah, it's not really about the game or the gameplay. It's about some other, like, these like ideas.
Like ARPGs. Now for big ticket boss fights. Something that should be formulaic and should be a sphere of design easily tackled by the likes of Blizzard.
Yeah.
From what I've seen and heard, they do a decent job with World of Warcraft boss design.
They did a decent job. WoW boss design went off the deep end, I would say, after, like, Cataclysm or Wrath. Depending. I think that now every boss is tremendously over-designed. There's no simplicity in the same way after Mop. I think even a lot of Mists of Pandaria bosses were, like, massively over-designed.
But the bosses in Diablo 4 are absolutely horrible.
There it is.
All regards.
I remember this.
Even Diablo Immortal has superior boss design. It's true. Look. Watch. It's incredible. Their mechanics are uninspiring.
Jesus, that is fucking sad.
Some literally just swing their sword a few different ways or repeat the same two
it's not even doing
abilities
damage
on timers.
And that's another thing too, like in Path of Exile, like this is like the beginning of the game boss, right?
Abilities.
If you stand in front of even Hillock, he'll do damage to you. If you stand in front of Brutus, he'll kill you. Like, whereas in Diablo, like, the entire game is a fucking joke. Like, there's never a point in the game where, like, anything is hard.
Timers. Others have insta-kills that don't have proper hitboxes.
Yeah.
Asmongold has expressed over and over these few points. Their
Yeah.
animations, aside from Uber Lilith, are not awesome.
Well, the explosions on Duriel, the circle, will hit you whenever your character model isn't in it. Like, they will insta-kill you if you stand next to the circle, even though, like, the little thing around your circle isn't there. Like, what? Like, why is it not... Why is it not the same size? It doesn't make sense. Piety is better than Duriel? Duriel is... Oh, it's a decent boss fight. But, again, it seems like it's such an easy solution. Like, there's not an easy solution. But, like, you know, there's clearly, like, a blast radius that's coded into the game, right? Like, there's a circle, like, with a radius of, like, it deals damage in this circle. Why can't you make this radius this big? I'm sorry, but I will not accept that this is hard to do. No. It's outrageous.
Should be awesome.
Resize Apex. Yeah, this is
Audio
insane.
is almost non-existent in boss fights. There's no dialogue. Very few instances of special music and mechanics lack.
You're right about that. I mean, like, again. This is just for one boss fight. Like, you don't even hear this or anything like that until you get to the very end of the game, where you're fighting this guy who's he's an eldritch being who, like, destroys worlds and universes. The Syrian Exarch. You just randomly join in, and you have the shit happen. Yeah, and also, like, has, like, the, you know, like, the voice lines and shit like that are so fucking cool. Cirrus? Yeah. They overdeveloped the game, so it's just insanely complex to fix a simple issue. No, you can make a circle bigger. Or you can make a circle smaller. Yeah, play the Maven soundtrack. Well, this is, in my opinion, I think this is the coolest one, right? The PoE OST on my gem and work playlist? Yeah, it's fucking amazing. And so just keep that in mind. Because, like, I felt like boss music didn't really matter a lot until I played Final Fantasy. And then I realized, like, every single boss fight that I think of in Final Fantasy, whenever I think of the boss fight, I hear the music. And then I go back to, like, WoW or Diablo 4, and they still have this, like, antiquated, like, viewpoint on it. And I think that PoE is just, like, it's insane. Either way, the PoE music, like, the Legion music, like, there's a few PoE tracks that are just so far above Diablo 3 or 4. It's not even funny.
Unique sound effects. Boss loot is also not special. Almost all the items you find on bosses, you can find in the open world or in dungeons.
Yeah.
There are no non-cosmetic chase items attached to bosses. Accessing
there are now. They did add a few non-cosmetic chase items to the bosses, and that's a good thing. I'm glad they did that, and I hope they keep doing that.
Bosses is also abysmal. Some require you to farm the open world. Some require you to farm dungeons. Some require you to...
So look at the animation here. Look how bad this is. What the fuck is this? Like... You're supposed to, like... What? What the fuck? This is, it's so bad. Who does this? It's garbage, yes. And like, you can clearly tell, oh, okay, you go here, right? But not really. Like, it shouldn't be like this. Is just trash.
Some require you to farm absolutely...
I had to stop playing because I'm colorblind? Yes.
Everything. And due to the tiny trading scene, you have to...
What even was that?
Absolutely everything. And due to the tiny...
Oh, I didn't even see it. And look, if you have the corpse thing down, you can't even see...
Trading scene, you have to do it yourself. There's no real freedom here to pursue various ends and bosses, and they're not well There's no real freedom here to pursue various ends.
What is this? Oh my god. I just, in my opinion, these are the things in games that I find to be completely indefensible. Okay, yeah, your studio is full of people, not Blizzard, I'm not saying. I'm saying in general, like, you have a studio full of people that have no insight into innovation. Okay. You have a studio full of people that can't develop a good boss fight. Okay. But why can't you make the colors of the spells not blend in with the ground? I think you're wrong with a lot of WoW fights, but this is fucking stupid. Okay. I mean, again, it's stupid design. Yeah, it's just like, because this is like an unnecessary L. It's like the bicycle meme where the guy puts the stick in the bicycle. Increased difficulty. Yeah, they actually, and this is the problem, is that like some people, and this is the reality is they're right. This does make the game harder, and it makes it worse. Because if you go back, do you want to see a hard mechanic? Here, I'll show you a hard mechanic. So he has to avoid every single one of these balls while these mobs are attacking him, and you can clearly see where the balls are and where they're not because they're lit up with the, what do you call it? And you can see with each ball, there's an outline around it, so you're able to see it. So it actually has nothing to do with the difficulty. That is infinitely harder than anything that Diablo 4 has mechanically. It's infinitely fucking harder. It looks manageable. It's very hard. I've never beaten Uber Searing Exarch. I probably should one of these times. But yeah, it is very hard.
And bosses, and they're not well interconnected.
And that's the thing, is like, again, I think that difficulty through design, or sorry, difficulty through not design, but like just not being able to see what the fuck is going on, that's not difficulty, that's just bad design.
Exile 1 has already addressed all these issues present in Diablo 4 years ago. And Diablo 4 just decided to drop without including any of these solutions. Path of Exile 2 is doubling down on incredible...
And I also think that even PoE 1, like, PoE does have some problems with visibility. And I think that the problems with visibility actually come from, like, multiple spell interactions and not necessarily from the baseline animations. So, like, with Diablo 4, if you look at the boss fights on a baseline, the boss fights on a baseline are bad. Whereas in PoE, the boss fights with the amount of added clutter that combat creates are bad. Which, like, these are two separate problems.
Boss design and shocking the world while doing so. Path of Exile 1 and 2 have inspired boss mechanics, and each boss is truly special. Even similar abilities on paper are distinct and terrifying. For example, the classic Shaper Beam versus the rage-inducing Die Beam from Cirrus, Awakener of Worlds. Path of Exile 1 bosses have smooth animations too. They have special loot tables. They're all interconnected in some way, either by the Atlas or Atlas passive skill tree, or some sort of access fragment. Audio is at the apex of each boss fight too. Many abilities can be avoided simply by listening to audio cues or special dialogue. Compare that to the Silent Lilith in Diablo 4. Then off to PoE 2. Wherein bosses are the crux of many showcases. The varied mechanics, the sound design, the area design, the simple, the incredible animations. It wows everyone who watches them, and if they continue with the bossing systems pursued in PoE 1, which they've stated they will likely do...
I think that, like, the bosses in PoE are very good. Like, again, like, you do have clusterfuck situations, right? Which, like, let's be honest... is this the Formed? I think it is. Like with all the different Shaper Guardians, this is a clusterfuck situation. The Twisted?
Special dialogue.
You're right. It's not Shaper Guardians. I don't know why I thought it was Shaper Guardians. Yeah, the Constrictor, of course. Yeah, this is... Okay, yeah, these are Elder Guardians. Like, these fights are supposed to be clusterfucks. And in my opinion, I don't really like the Maven fights that much. They're kind of just like almost build showcase things, where it's like, how fast can you beat this?
Everyone who watches them. And if they continue with the bossing systems pursued in PoE 1, which they've stated they will likely do, PoE 2 is going to thrash PoE 1 and Diablo 4 with its bosses. Next up, let's ponder on the itemization puzzle of Diablo 4 compared to the currently live Path of Exile and what's meant to come in PoE 2. This is going to be a quick ponder, as there's no real puzzling in D4 with items. There is a clear upgrade path based on which skill you choose to use. There's no variance, or at least very few alternate paths to piece your character together. Plus, the high end of items is quite easy to obtain. There aren't incremental upgrades you can make. There aren't any situations in which you need to solve a real problem with your character to continue progressing.
The gear is too simplistic. It just is. It's too simplistic, and there's too many trash stats. And stats that aren't fun. Like in PoE, like you could make a 45-minute... If you take the best physical damage weapon in the game, in terms of like how much damage can it do in PoE, you could make a 45-minute video on how that weapon came to exist. Whereas in Diablo, you could make a 45-second video.
It's simple, but at the same time, it's cluttered. Affixes on items are messy, and plenty of memes have spawned from the unique case in which some meaningless
And even Blizzard knows this.
affixes apply, like the "you only deal damage to Goatman on Wednesdays when it's raining," and Diablo actually appears in a Diablo game. It's silly. On top of this, the only form of building an item yourself is re-rolling aspects on it, a process which involves farming gold and spamming the re-roll button at a vendor. No thinking, no strategy, no knowledge, just spam. Compared to PoE,
it's not like, I think that, you know, I think Diablo 4 is like a 2 in terms of crafting, and PoE is a 10. I think we should have like a 7 or an 8. I do think that PoE crafting is too complex. But like, the levels of complexity, like, I would get rid of at least like 2 vectors of crafting. Like, maybe get rid of like beast crafting and get rid of like fossil crafting, or get rid of like beast crafting and synthesis crafting. Like, you could remove just a couple of vectors to where like it's more approachable. At least with PoE, there's like something to learn, right? Last Epoch is perfect. Yeah. No, bro, people love this. No, I'm just saying, like, I guarantee you PoE 2 is going to have less crafting vectors. It's because I bet GGG understands this. They understand it's a problem. It's like, I will try out Last Epoch and see like kind of what the that middle ground is.
One wherein you can puzzle your way out of limitless situations by itemizing differently, putting various uniques together, or rolling special influenced rares, or strategically crafting a certain piece of gear to accomplish a niche but important goal. The difference is vast. Of course, PoE 1's crafting is way more complex too, and involves a large element of randomization and spamming specific items. This is something PoE 2 seeks to address to allow for greater accessibility, but in the end, greater depth as well.
Like, the complexity of PoE crafting is great, and I just think, again, if you just cut out a couple of vectors that are like kind of redundant, in my opinion, then I feel like crafting would be perfect. And I think that apparently Last Epoch kind of does that.
Character customization, wherein Diablo 4 wins cosmetically and in the first few minutes of the game, of course, but even then, is it a true win? There's a reason Path of Exile doesn't allow you to customize your character secretly. On Character Select, you pick your class, hear a bit about them, give them a name, and you're in. On the beach, ready to dance into the action. That's intentional. You're not going to be attached to your character because you made them look like a 70s rock star or a starving inner city dude. You're going to become engrossed in the items they possess, the choices you make throughout your journey, and what monsters you manage to down while piloting them through Path of Exile. In Diablo 4, many characters are built the same. The skills...
I wish that, like, so Lost Ark, I think, has a better solution to that than PoE or Diablo 4. I like how in Lost Ark you can zoom in and look at your character more directly. And I like being able to look at my character. I think that's cool. And I like being able to make my own customized character. I would prefer if PoE 2 had the ability to customize and make your own character. Just because I like doing it and I think it's cool. It's not like the game would be bad or something like that if you don't have that. But it just adds a level of interest to me. Yeah, making your own character is good. Yeah, I like the idea of custom making your character.
Trees are tiny and not webs at all. Their version of the passive skill tree, Paragons, falls short of bringing real power to your character.
But it's like, again, I think this is like a really good example of, remember what I was talking about before about how like Blizzard focuses on things that don't really matter? At the end of the day, people play a video game, like they play something like PoE because they like the combat and the gameplay. They're not playing PoE because they can make a character that has their hairstyle. That's not really the reason. And so again, like, I understand why they don't focus on it or care about it, but I still think it'd be nice to have if it's possible. But it's nothing like I will not play a game because of a character creator, but I will stop playing a game if the gameplay sucks. That's the end of the day.
And there's no extra layer of specialty atop any class. Then there's PoE 1 and PoE 2, wherein the passive skill tree is massive and allows for many choices, many of which provide viable builds. Then the skill gem system...
And I do think that, like, again, because like I have a lot of feelings about like the PoE skill tree, because like, so I think about it from I've thought about it in a number of different like perspectives. Like, okay, so this number one, right? PoE skill tree is so massively diverse and so overly complicated that isn't it kind of a good thing that it's really, really complex and hard to understand, because that way it filters out all of the people who aren't necessarily part of the target audience of the game immediately. So it's like, if this isn't something that excites you, you're going to be immediately out of the game, and like that's it. So like that's my first thinking on it. And then my other thinking on it is the thinking that everybody always says, which is this game is so overly complex that I don't even want to take the first step into it, because you're providing such a level of complexity so early that it's overwhelming for me as a player. And I think that those people are right too. And so I don't think that either group of people are necessarily like really wrong, but I don't know how they can solve this problem, because I do think that how many of you guys don't play PoE or didn't play PoE for a long time? Maybe you opened it up because you saw this. You were like, I don't want to deal with this. And I think that's a problem. But again, if I think about it from, I'm going to try to give it like the most credibility that I possibly can, isn't it also a good filter for people that aren't really the target audience of the game? Because if this doesn't excite you, you're probably not the target audience for the game. So like, I can see kind of where somebody's coming from if they say that, but at the same time, I don't really think that justifies it. I still don't necessarily agree with it, even though I can see the perspective. Does that make sense? Like, that's the best justification. Make blueprint builds for beginners. Yeah. I think that, again, I think PoE takes a lot of unnecessary L's in acquisition of new players. And I think that they know that. I think they are fully aware of that.
Builds. Then the skill jump system,
I think they're trying to fix that.
Massive customizability for all skills. And finally, ascendancy classes.
Yeah.
Ending out the trio of sweeping character customizations. Ascendancies give classes and characters even further identity and choice, pushing the envelope for what you can do to build your character up from where they started at level 1. All three of these are present in PoE 1.
Yeah, the ascendancies are really cool. I will say that you can go on PoE Ninja, and this is just like a website tool that shows you like how many people are playing each different thing. So the game does have a problem, the same problem that like almost every other game has, is that like Deadeye is at 19% and Shadow, well, Shadow's not, Gladiator is at 0.4. Shadow's at 0%, 0.0. Raiders at 1%. So you do have the same problems that Diablo 4 has with PoE, but there are a lot of options that you can go with. Like, I would say that there are probably 10 times more viable builds in PoE than there are in Diablo 4.
And 2.
It probably
There's
is
no need
more
to
than
drive
that.
the dagger further and talk about all the extra layers in PoE 1. From clusters,
Like that build there, right? Is that Cleave or Reeve or wherever the fuck it is? I've never played that. I think that weapon, that attack sucks. But like, some people play it.
Allowing you to make your own skill
And he was
trees.
clearing content with it. You just saw him clearing
Atlas
content.
Passive tree,
Yeah.
which allows
this
you
is
to
a whole separate talent tree, right? The one I saw earlier, this is a completely new one that's totally different.
sculpt an endgame unique to your account. The differences are flabbergasting. Diablo 4 is superficial, while PoE champions real depth. Finally, let's end this chunky section with a bit of a discussion about social features in Diablo 4. Or really, the absolute travesty that is the complete lack of socialization in this game. You see, many of the choices they've made leading up to...
I like the serendipitous encounters that would happen whenever you're doing a blood, like a green Helltide, basically, right? I actually like that, but all of the social encounters that you would have in Diablo 4 are so one-dimensional and meaningless that those people might as well just be NPCs.
Social features seem to be trying to push
But I
this
do
game
like
into
them.
a direction Many avid players of Diablo 2, Diablo 3, Path of Exile, and other ARPGs didn't expect, and honestly, didn't want too much. Somehow, Blizzard made an open-world MMORPG that is almost purely played solo. Trading is an absolute travesty.
It's so
There's really
annoying.
no reason to truly trade.
There's no trading channel in Diablo 4. There's no global trading channel in Diablo 4. There's no group finder in Diablo 4. So how do you trade? You do it through a website. Most people, I don't know if people still use D2JSP, probably not. But yeah, you do it or through Discord.
You can trade items up to rare, but if it's unique or if it contains an aspect, then it's locked to you. This drops the best and rarest items from the trading pool, leading to them being quite difficult, if not impossible, to deterministically get, and fails to encourage players to trade at all.
I'm a very big trading advocate. Because, like, here's my mindset. Is that PoE has bots. PoE has RMT. And PoE has all kinds of currency trader bots, everything like that. I don't feel like any of those things have negatively impacted my experience as a player. And if Path of Exile, a free game that you have no barrier to entry to getting into, can make it to where trading and botting does not have a tangible negative effect on my experience, then I will not accept that Blizzard can't do the same thing for a $70 box price game. No. No. It has a negative effect on some people. Well, everything has a negative. That's not a good argument, right? I don't. How many of you guys like, have you ever had a point where RMT or like botting and PoE has affected you? And like how? Like how would it possibly affect you? I think that you could, the only, like maybe currency trading, maybe just a little bit, right? But honestly, I really appreciate the currency trading bots. Holy fuck. So yeah. Price fixing items. Positively, faster trades. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's faster trades. And so it helps trade experience better. Yeah, I am a very big advocate of trading.
It truly is in shambles. There are outside of game communities.
And also, I think that like one really weird thing about PoE trading is the fact that PoE trading is like one of the only games in my mind that actually utilizes an opportunity cost variable like system in terms of time investment. Because like, how many times do you get an item that'll sell for like 1 or 2C, but you're 3 weeks into the league and you're like, fuck it, I don't want to invest the time into selling this. I'm just going to get rid of it. So like it actively has the player make decisions based off of opportunity cost all the time and decide whether something is worth selling or not. I think that's very interesting. I like that a lot.
That are helping encourage the trade of quite specific items and resources.
So items under 5C.
Trade, which is quite
do.
Similar to Path of Exile's Mega Trade and Challenge
at least at the
Discord
beginning.
server, the Forbidden Trove, or TFT. As usual, leave it to the dedicated ARPG communities to form their own features when a developer is lacking.
So there's no people on auction house?
Super
I'm a fan of, I think that if you had an auction house in PoE2 for only currency, I would be okay with that. Because I think that the currency trading meta is a genuinely unfun, frustrating experience that makes the game worse. But I think item trading should be peer-to-peer. And it shouldn't be through an auction house. Yeah, like the currency trading, like, it's so fucking bad, man. Please give it, yeah, but only for currency.
Alone when playing Diablo 4. There's no global chat or way to interact with people who aren't in your immediate vicinity, but on your server.
Yeah.
Again, there's no need to actually create content that needs to be played with others for a game to feel social. In Path of Exile and Last Epoch, global chats are almost always vibrant at all times. In PoE during League Start, hundreds of global chat channels are bubbling with activity. There's the dreaded Global Chat 1, which is filled with the scum of the earth. There's Global 4040, which is dedicated to freely helping out absolutely anyone with the challenges present in that particular league. During my relatively little
interesting.
amount
I didn't
of
know
time
that
in
about
last Epoch, the global chat in that game has been vibrant, and every time I have a question, I always get an answer. It's great. Meanwhile, in D4, everything is silent. If you have a guild, you can chat there. If you find someone in the open world, you can try to chat with them between blasting packs, but besides that...
Well, there's no group finder in Diablo 4. Like, there's a group finder in PoE. I don't know if he's going to cover this or not, but, like, you can join a group finder and do different group content in PoE. Because there's a lot of people that play something called, like, an Aura bot, which is, I don't know how popular it is now, but for many, many years, I'm sure you probably still have people that are doing it. They're playing an Aura bot where, like, all they do is they just have 50 different buffs where they just buff other people. That's it. So, like, their character is designed for group play.
There was no easy way to chit-chat with other players, if they're even there. The clan or guild feature is absolutely bare-bone. It gives you a chat channel and nothing else of substance. In Path of Exile, guilds have entire hideouts they can share, a chat channel, and a stash they can fill and use to share items with their fellow guild members. The only incentive people currently have to truly interact is sharing ingredients for boss runs, particularly Uber Duriel runs. That's it. In PoE...
Which is, I think the Uber Duriel, like, sharing runs, I think they're cool. I'm totally fine with that.
People share normal map runs, numerous boss runs, Domain of Timeless Conflict rotations, Chayula runs...
Yeah, like, it's usually, like, Breach and 5-way rotations that are the main group content. And it used to be, the fucking... the Ascendancies.
Completions, and much more. The guild stuff not being built out, I can forgive. Trading, I guess I understand given D4's focus isn't really on awesome itemization. However, the fact that there's no global chat and that D4 feels dead, even though there's...
And it's like, it is cool that he can make the rocks come up and the snow changes based off of where the rocks are. That is really cool. So it's not like Diablo 4 doesn't have anything cool, but, like, that's cool for 3 seconds. Good itemization is cool for 3 years.
Probably a ton of people online is wild. It seems like a rather simple ad, but for a company like Blizzard, who built Diablo 4 seemingly on a skeleton of an engine, given the way their stash system is coded, inserting a global chat might somehow allow Diablo 4 players to chat with World of Warcraft ones. You might think this is a silly joke. It is not. I am confident this is possible. More and more, the hidden and not so hidden truths behind Diablo 4's development are becoming clear. While some developers have the freedom to let their product cook and get good, I don't think that was possible for the people behind D4. These developers are in a bad situation, but it's also unfortunate they don't seem capable of learning from both past mistakes in Blizzard's own franchise and all the lessons other games in their space have learned over all these years. Thusly, there are dual factors here, everyone. One, the developers were extremely pressured by executives.
I guess this must have been before the game came out. This has got to be before the game came out, right? Yeah.
Pressured by executives to push out a new Diablo product, and two, these developers refused to commit vital research and development to ensure their game was the best it could be. Let's tackle both. Diablo 4 was designed to be a product of nearly pure monetary value. The people at Blizzard saw a hole in the market they knew they could fill. Obviously, their audience was hungry for a true Diablo game after the massive uproar caused by the Diablo Immortal fiasco.
Well, I think also ARPGs are a popular genre. Like, the people like them, but it's just that there are no ARPGs that have mainstream market penetration. Like, PoE, like, Diablo 3 was huge, right? Diablo 2 was huge. But, like, right now, like, besides Diablo 4, before Diablo 4, like, PoE really doesn't have that mainstream market penetration. Like, for example, like, this is like a really stupid way for me to do it, right? It's like super like subjective, like anecdotal. But like, I've only had maybe 1 or 2 guys ever talk to me about PoE in real life. Like, because people will notice me and be like, ah, yeah, it's a streamer guy, what's up? And so they'll like want to talk to me about like a game or something like that. But I will tell you that the one guy that was a PoE fan, he was working at Best Buy, and he said that he was saving up money. He was going to buy the $400 supporter pack. He fucking loved the game. He looked just like Pox, the Righteous Fire guy, and he was so ridiculously fucking enthusiastic about the game. I talked to him about it for like a half hour. We were talking about builds, different types of stuff. This is like 3 or 4 years ago. And I still remember that shit. Whereas, like, the Diablo 4 is like, yeah, I saw you play Diablo 4. Yeah, anyway, so, yeah, I'm not playing it anymore. No, that's about it.
Diablo name being insanely massive, so large, the best ARPG on the market simply called itself a spiritual successor to Diablo 2, with a marketing budget the size of a small country's GDP.
True. I do think that, like, I think, like, the Rembrandt, like, Caravaggio, like, Renaissance era, like, style of the art for Diablo 4 was really cool at the beginning. But I don't think it really delivered into the baseline game. I think that, like, there was an element of, it was like 90 to 95% there. But like that 10 to 5% that it wasn't there made all the difference. I like the art. I do. I like the art too. But like, I'm trying to think of like which game had art that was just like so iconic. World of Warcraft. Like original vanilla WoW and Warcraft 3 had art that's just like fucking insanely iconic. It's so good. Diablo 2 had insanely iconic art. Wind Waker, yes. Bloodborne. Elden Ring. Fuck. Trying to think what other games had just like insane fucking visuals. Hades. I think each of those games has like an art style that's like so perfect and so good. But I don't think I think Diablo 4 is like that. Blasphemous. Yeah, Blasphemous is another great example. I think Blasphemous art style is fucking like S tier.
Blizzard knew they could draw a gigantic number of buyers. They were right.
They were.
I'm guessing executives did 2 huge things. They expedited the release of Diablo 4 and ensured it was outwardly as accessible as possible to the greater gaming community. The game was released too early.
It was released too early, but I don't think that releasing it any later would have made it better. Because do you remember back in the beta where we had the reset instance button and then they took it out of the game? Oh yeah, give them 6 more months. They'll make it better. Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Get the fuck out of here.
Lots of content and features were missing on launch, and the team did not have a plan for running the live game. Stashes were not feasible for people who played the game past the campaign. Only one true endgame boss existed.
I need to watch his video, Darth's video on PoE endgame, because he's been playing it a bit.
And her fight was broken and confuddled many who attempted it. Hardcore was an absolute mess, and constant disconnects or bugs led to some hilarious but depressing deaths.
And I have to say that I think that the idea of a death save in hardcore is fucking ridiculous. I think it is absolutely fucking ridiculous that you can have a death save in hardcore. Like, especially, so like a death save works if it's like the retail WoW version of Argent Defender, where like you have to press Argent Defender and then it gives you a buff that will give you a death save for a small period of time. But whenever I think death saves are bad, or whenever you have a whenever they're not reactionary, Like, even a logout macro in PoE, you have to choose to use the logout macro. You can't just say, if I'm going to take damage, instantly log me out. No. You have to actively make a conscious decision to use a logout macro at that exact time. And if you do that, you also lose a portal. So there is still a loss even with the logout macro. And I think a logout macro is infinitely more skillful than just putting on a potion at the beginning of the dungeon that says I can't die because I have a death save. It is infinitely more skillful. That's why I think Petries are okay. That's why I think logout macros are okay. And I don't like what Diablo 4 has. That's my opinion, though. And my opinion, to be fair, doesn't really mean a whole lot because I'm not a hardcore player anyway. But looking from the outside in, that's how I see it. Because I never really did any of this. I'm just talking about, like, this is just simply my opinion.
Items just
and I do think it's different.
Weren't exciting, and you were shoehorned into a certain path based on the skill you chose.
Right.
The puzzling element of solving your character just wasn't there. The horse was janky. The open world was empty. No social features existed. Uber uniques were basically non-existent. Balance changes were all over the place. There was just a lot to be done. But regardless, D4 was pushed to production. Next up, the development team pitched.
I think that if you had left Diablo 4 in production for 2 more years, if anything, the game would be worse. Just what I think. I don't think they would have improved it and fixed all the problems. Nah, bro. Nah.
Depth in interviews and showcases, but built the game to be simple and cluttered once explored. Statistics and items were deep, but there were tons of repetitive affixes.
Yep.
The skill system was also straightforward, leading to very little true build variety, especially with shoehorned aspects. And
I think that Diablo 4 made the skill tree too simple and the Paragon board too complex. Just my opinion.
Endgame revolved around pushing dungeons and re-rolling for aspects hundreds and hundreds of times for mounds of gold. All these ideas weren't focused on as they didn't matter to the masses or the executives. What obviously was focused on was the campaign, which was actually pretty good, but only pushed on players a single time. Then, it's just pure grind in the open world.
And also, like, having celebrities involved. It's like... It's not a bad thing, really. Like, you know, everybody remembers the old Warcraft commercials with, like, Mr. T and Ozzy Osbourne. They were great. But the game was also great. And, like, look at Cyberpunk, for example, right? Like, so it's not that this is a bad idea entirely. But, man, it doesn't make a bad game good. And whenever the game's bad, that's it. Why is it so hard to copy PoE and dumb it down a bit? Well, I don't know. I'll see how Last Epoch does with that. That's kind of what I hear. Maybe I should start... Oh my god, no, I already said I was going to do Monster Hunter. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Dungeons.
There's a lot of things to play, man.
It's great the first time. And it's what many of the buy and play players fixated on.
Yeah.
Which probably pleased the executives greatly. These gamers buy the game, play it, and leave. They are not attached. They are not avid addicts like some of us, and they do not complain or uproar when the game turns out to be broken or shallow.
Well, that's why they're the perfect audience. Like, gamer dads are the perfect audience to have because they won't play the game long enough to really hit those walls. To, like, hit those frustrating things or anything like that.
It's completely fine, but it's not what people were expecting or, honestly, promised by the team behind D4. How could all of this happen, especially when Blizzard has 4 previous Diablo titles behind it? Diablo, Diablo 2, Diablo 3, and Diablo Immortal. Mistakes made in previous games or all the lessons learned seem to be completely ignored. Alongside these Blizzard-forged titles, there was also plenty of competition to take a gander at. Path of Exile has been in public development since 2010. They've had numerous fumbles and a ton of lessons learned in the ARPG genre. Why not take the best from PoE and implement it into D4? Heck,
they did take a few things from PoE and put them in Diablo 4. And they also did that with Lost Ark. But that's not really innovation, right?
Why not take the absolute basics and do that? That's what Last Epoch did.
Yeah.
That's another title Blizzard could have looked at if they did actual research and development. Given the state of Diablo 4's launch and its current timeline for changes and fixes, it's clear that did not happen.
But do you think that such gamer dads will buy a $100 expansion if they're not even completely done with the base game? Yes. I think that they absolutely will. 100.
Absolutely. All of that being said, where in the world do Diablo 4 and Blizzard go from here? Well, they seem to be doing research and development in real time. Who would have thought players wanted more stash space in a game that should be about getting new awesome items? Anyone who has ever...
You shouldn't need more stash space. The problem is the aspect system. The aspect system is why you need more stash space. Fix the aspect system, then you fix stash space. The majority, like here, think about it. How many of you guys, the majority of your stash is full of aspects? It's not about the gear, it's about the aspect on the gear. Yes, exactly. And so this is, again, Blizzard doesn't understand the problem. They don't get it. Like, yeah, sure, give us more stash space. That's great. That solves the symptom. Oh, God. They just can't. Yeah, it's like they just... and it's like, it's very problematic. Think about it, right? That I don't think that they really understand where problems come from. Halo 1 did nothing innovative, but made a game that combined everything existing into a great overall game. Halo 1 did nothing innovative. The energy shield recharge automatic, wasn't that innovative? I don't know. I'd have to really think about that. I think it was. Yeah, and that was like a tremendous level of, and it used 2 weapons? Yeah. Perfect Dark? Perfect Dark was like, what, 1999? Look, we're getting off topic. We're getting way off topic. You're right that Elden Ring in a lot of ways was not innovative. They just did what Dark Souls 3 did, and they did what all their other games did. They put it all together. They made it so fucking amazing, and that was it. So you're right. That and a lot of times you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just make a really, really good wheel. You're totally right. However, do you see kind of like what the problem is here, where I think a lot of times the developers don't understand what the problem is. That's it. You want more stash space? Great. Give everybody more stash space, but that doesn't solve the problem. And they don't know where the problem comes from.
Played an ARPG before. Who would have thought players would want items with more meaningful and impactful affixes than deal 15% increased damage when you're smacking it from behind and holding a flaming rapier of demon slaying?
Well, here's the reality of why they have those affixes. They have those affixes for the same reason that PoE has light range. They have them as trash affixes to increase the pool of possible things that you can roll. That's what it is.
One who has ever
but there's too many of them.
Items in a beloved ARPG before. Who would have thought players would like an endgame system that involves
more vectors,
popping
RNG,
huge
yes.
packs of monsters, fighting well-built bosses, and forging compelling items?
I think that the most indefensible thing about Diablo 4 is the bosses. It's the bosses. That is where things are just really...
Who has ever played the endgame or talked to someone who has played the endgame of an ARPG before. All of these concepts are being actively...
And also, keep in mind, there are a lot of good games with bad bosses. Valheim. I think all the bosses in Valheim are bad. Yes. Every boss in Valheim, I think, is bad. However, the game is good. Liza P. Yeah, Liza P. I think a lot of the bosses in Liza P are bad as well.
Sued by Blizzard.
Yagluth is cool.
They are finally committing
He's
some
probably the
proper
best one.
research and development 6 months after the release of their game. Itemization 2.0 is already on the way. Leaderboards are en route. A possible $100 expansion is coming too. Wait, let's not dive into that. I am extremely doubtful Diablo 4 will ever reach the level of Path of Exile 1, Path of Exile 2, or Last Epoch.
I don't think that it should. Like, it should not compete with Path of Exile directly because PoE is too dynamic and they can make changes too fast. They will never be able to outperform PoE. Last Epoch is too much of a wild card right now. I haven't played it yet, so I don't understand it well enough. But they need to actually just, like, for what they do have, they need to make it good. It's okay if you want to make, like, for example, Warzone, Call of Duty doesn't really compete directly in the same way with Escape from Tarkov. Of course they compete in a greater market, but a lot of the people that love Escape from Tarkov are going to play that game, and they're not going to, like, what they get out of Escape from Tarkov is not going to be possible to get out of Modern Warfare, because it's a totally different experience.
People
I think it's the same thing with PoE and Diablo
4 don't seem to understand the space or just don't want to build the best version of their game possible. They lust to perfectly construct the most profitable product possible. The other games I constantly mention in this video do not pursue that end. They craft the game first, and the money follows. If the long ago legendary Blizzard and Diablo names were not attached to Diablo 4, it would have faltered and died a swift death. With the backing of all Blizzard...
I think it would have just been one of those AAA big games that people lose interest in very quickly after they start playing it. Like, they play it for a while, and then they're bored, and it's like, okay, well, that's it.
Money and the attempt at mass market appeal, they are trying their best to add layers to the skeleton that is Diablo 4.
It's like now, yeah.
Will they succeed?
It's like Starfield, yeah. Well, I mean, Starfield was Bethesda. Let me think a game that was like that, like Anthem, maybe, kind of. I don't think that's even a really great example. Like New World, maybe? Forspoken? Yeah, kind of like that. Like one of those games.
Honestly, I hope so for all the people who stepped into the D4 trap and longed for something greater. Am I confident in Blizzard's ability to succeed in the face of all these other great titles and developers? No, not anymore.
I mean, I don't know about being confident. Like, I'll still play it, and and he's right. He's right that they're not as in tune with what the problems of the game are and how to solve them as they used to be. I think that the Diablo 4 team, after Season 1, has made almost only good decisions. I actually think so. Like, Season 2 and all that, I think has been generally very good. However, there are still, like, baseline problems that exist on the game as, like, meta-level problems. Like, philosophy problems.
But what did you think, fellow exiles and heroes of YouTube? Do you agree that games like Path of Exile
okay?
1,
I think Green Helltide's
and
great.
Last Epoch are made by gamers who love to puzzle it out, while Diablo 4 was made to make a sequel for Diablo 3. Let me and everyone else know in the comments. Anyways, that's all for this video. Talamoana, Exile.
It can also be a console versus PC issue. Yeah, whatever happened to that guy? The barbarian guy. The marauder guy. Weird? No, that used to be, there's the guy, he was like you would get like your quests from him. And then, like, they made him evil. Yeah, Talamoana warrior. Yeah. Yeah, he was the Karui guy. Haku, yeah. He's in the Syndicate? Oh, man, what an asshole. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, true. The same with Varici, right? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I totally agree with pretty much everything he's been saying here. I don't know if Diablo 4 needs to, again, it doesn't really need to compete against PoE, but I think it at least shouldn't, like, the boss fights and everything are just, it's indefensible. It really is indefensible. And yeah, I love this guy's videos. Like, I've been watching him for a while. He's like probably Talkative Tree is like one of the main people that does like commentary content about Path of Exile. And so I really appreciate that because, you know, we have a few people. I feel like with Diablo and like ARPGs in general, there aren't that many people, I feel, and like maybe because it's not as mainstream, that like are really talking about ARPGs. You don't think he's biased? I don't care if somebody is biased or not. Of course he's biased. His channel is about Path of Exile. His Path of Exile is his main game. Like, of course he's biased. I go into it knowing that he's biased, but somebody can be biased, but they can be right.